All right. Good evening, everyone. I will call this Alameda County Water District Board of Directors meeting to order. It is 6:01 p.m. Today is May 14th, 2026. Can we start with roll call, please?
Directors Weed,
Here.
Huang, here, Gunther,
Here.
Sethy,
Here.
and Akbari.
Here. And Director Sethy, will you lead us in the
Sure.
to the flag, please?
My word. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, everyone. Before we move on to item 3, I'll just look to our general manager to see if we have any housekeeping items.
Great. Thank you, President Akbari. Yeah, just want to welcome everybody to ACWD's board meeting this evening. My name is Ed Stevenson, and I serve as the district's general manager. Members of the public may participate in this board meeting in person or remotely by either using the Zoom application or by telephone. Any member of the public present in person who wishes to make comments may approach the speaker's podium at the appropriate time. For those participating remotely, note that the meeting agenda, staff reports, and presentation materials for this meeting are all available on the district's website at acwd.org. You may reference the instructions at the top of the agenda for how to participate using the controls in the Zoom app or your dial pad if participating by telephone audio. This board meeting is being recorded and will be made available to the public for future viewing. And thank you all for attending, and President Akbari, that completes my housekeeping remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. With that, we'll move on to item number 3, public comments. Members of the public may address the board on any issues not listed on the agenda, which are within the purview of the Alameda County Water District. See, we don't have any members of the public here in person, so I'll look online. If you wish to make a comment, you can raise your hand in the Zoom app now.
Seeing no hands.
No hands raised. Okay. With that, we'll move on to our special presentation, the District of Distinction and District Transparency Certificate of Excellence Awards, to be presented to the Alameda County Water District by the Special District Leadership Foundation. And I'll turn it to Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah, we are thrilled to have a super special guest star this evening, Colleen Haley from Special Districts Association, who's presenting the district with not just one, but, double it up, make it extra special. We'll have 2 award presentations this evening. So, Ms. Haley, would you please approach the podium? Yeah, this one's fine right here.
First of all, thank you for being our members. I've been here for 10 years and we've had some great collaboration over the years. You've hosted some of our workshops and you're always great attendees of our local chapter. I'd also like to say before we get going that both of these take a tremendous amount of staff work to put together. But they do it because they see the relevance of our programs, and your district in particular has participated in both of these certificate programs since they were implemented. So we really appreciate that. I also have these formal talking points. I have to read them. They're going to sound a little wonky, and you're going to hear the word transparent quite a bit. But I'll get through them as quickly as I can. And then I'd like to request to take a picture afterwards of the board for the presentation, or of the board president, whatever your policy is for the awards. So I'm going to begin with the District Transparency Certificate. And both these are very unique presentations just because of how many times you've earned the award. This is the renewal certificate. You've earned it ever since it was first presented as a possibility for districts. And this is your 4th time earning it. So I'll go ahead and begin with the formal talking points. Then afterwards, I'll present the District of Distinction, which is also a very rare accommodation amongst you and your like-minded district peers. So here we go. Here's a District Transparency Certificate of Excellence Renewal Award. But first I have to go into the Special District Leadership Foundation itself. It's a 501c3 nonprofit foundation, and it's an arm of CSDA, dedicated to promoting excellence in special districts through recognition programs that highlight and focus on implementation of governance best practices. Currently, there are 4 programs, or 2 for the districts, and you've earned them both. The District of Distinction Accreditation, which is SDLF's premier program, and District Transparency Certificate of Excellence. There's also 2 for individuals. There's a Special District Administrator Certificate and the Recognition in Special District Governance, and that's for board members. So about the District Transparency Certificate of Excellence, it's a program created in 2013 in an effort to promote transparency in the operations and governance of special districts to the public and to provide special districts with the opportunity to showcase their efforts in transparency. And it's in effect for 3 years. That's why I'm back here every 3 years. There are 3 main subject areas: the basic transparency requirements, which include current ethics training certificates for all board members and timely filing of the state controller's special district's financial transactions compensation report. The website requirements, which include posting the board's meeting schedule, district's mission statement, current audit and budget information, and the board of directors roster with terms of office on it. And then finally, the outreach requirements, which the district has to select 2 of the requirements, which include a regular district newsletter, annual informational public budget hearing, and or a community transparency review. Why there is transparency important? It is important because the public has a right to access government. It has a right to, regardless of type or size, access it, and public agencies that use public money and provide public services have a right to provide those services to the public. The district's business is a public's business. Transparency means a district that is open, accessible, and engages with the community, because easy access to district information through mediums like a website provides for an opportunity for constituents to better understand their district, and because transparency allows for accountability. Presentation of the certificate means the district has completed a comprehensive transparency checklist I mentioned before that includes general website and outreach best practices, demonstrates the district has a tangible acknowledgement of the district's transparency efforts, shows the district's commitment to being open and accessible to the public, and displays a commitment to engaging the public and creating greater awareness of the district's activities. So we've done all those. Therefore, on behalf of the board and staff of the Special District Leadership Foundation, it's my pleasure to present the District Transparency Certificate of Excellence Renewal to the Alameda County Water District in recognition of your efforts to promote transparency in the operations and governance of your district. Congratulations. That's award number 1. Award number 2, District of Distinction. I won't go into the background about the foundation because I already did that. So I'll just go into the District of Distinction. This accreditation is designed as a way for districts to highlight their prudent fiscal practices, along with other areas of importance, and to effectively operate and govern a special district. You do that by enabling, the certificate does that by enabling districts to demonstrate to their communities through mediums like the media at large, through the legislators and other stakeholders, their commitment to operate in a sound, responsible manner, and then they truly stand out as a district that has gone above and beyond. This accreditation requires specifically that you have clean financial audits for a minimum of 3 consecutive years, proof that the district has essential policy and procedures in place. All directors and designated staff have completed comprehensive training in governance and have a comprehensive understanding of all the laws pertaining to districts and public agencies. But the Alameda County Water District did even more and elevated to a platinum level. Achieving this elite status requires the additional requirements. All directors and the general manager have completed comprehensive governance training in addition to the continued education required to earn their certificate in special districts governance. The general manager has earned it says there, his certified special district manager designation. And there are currently only 14 other districts throughout the state that have done that. So pretty elite status. Why is it important? because it demonstrates the district's understanding and respect of the responsibilities inherent in providing essential public services, shows that the district has clean audits and operates in a fiscally responsible and transparent manner, places an emphasis on continuing education within the district, focuses on having sound policies in areas of governance, board conduct, district finances, transparency, and reviews. Therefore, on behalf of the board and the staff of the Special District Leadership Foundation, it's my pleasure to present the Alameda County Water District with the District of Distinction Platinum Accreditation in recognition of your commitment to good governance and to the ethical and sound operating practices. Congratulations.
Hey, photo time.
Can we make some comments afterward?
Yeah, let's do the photo first and then we can make some comments.
John, you gotta get up there
Oh, the
too.
whole crowd.
This
This is a. You have wide lenses?
You can
Like it would be the material for it. I agree. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's
I
open
had
it up.
some words I wanted to share.
Yeah, let's open it up for board comments and I'll just start on the end and we can work our way down.
Okay, thank you for the awards and a big thanks to staff. We're actually consistently achieving the awards. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for the award. Thank you for doing this. Apparently there aren't a lot of districts that are hitting this mark. And we appreciate you're giving it the ability to do that. I think it bodes very well for the public. Thank you.
Colleen, I wanted to share that when I first became board president in 2013, December 2013, our then general manager, Walt Wadlow, asked me what my goals would be for the coming year. And I told him, number one, there's this new award from CSDA for District of Distinction, and I wanted us to qualify every level up to the Platinum Award for District of Distinction, which was the highest of, the platinum, gold, silver, bronze. And he said, Paul, you know how much work that's going to take? Are you sure you have the support of your board? And you have to have the support of the senior management here too, to do this. Well, we proceeded to go ahead and I think it was within a year or two that we achieved all of the levels to become not only a district of distinction, but a district of distinction with the Platinum Superior Award. And as you stated, it's only 14 districts in the state. Of all the special districts, that's not just water, that's everyone. So I think it's a credit to not only the involvement and the efforts of the board to work for this, but for all of our senior staff as well. And each successive general manager has put in the effort as well. And I wanted to close by saying I appreciate the letters from Neil McCormick that I get periodically on updates from CSDA. I also mentioned to you when we were down in Monterey that was the best CSDA conference I'd been at. And I make it a requirement of myself, whether it's the Aqua Conference or CSDA conferences I go to, that I bring back something to our district that will benefit us and make us a better district. And that is certainly the case with the CSDA conference and why I so much enjoy going to it. So I want to thank CSDA itself for putting together these programs that benefit all of us across the state of California. And it's so valuable. And thank you for all your personal contributions as well to our district. I enjoy seeing you at the Alameda County Special Districts Association meetings and all your contributions there to update us on legislative affairs. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We take a different tact. In your news release, please also note that Alameda County Water District has a AAA from Moody's, only 2 in the state of California and 15 in the country.
And Standard & Poor's.
And also,
Standard & Poor's and Moody's.
yeah, I would encourage also that CSDA look into the SAFER program and for cooperative agreements. There's $1.3 billion being put into that. ACWD has been matched through another water organization with a special district in the Central Valley to help. But this is an opportunity for CSDA at the local level to try and eliminate the list of public entities and private entities that are in that SAFER report. Okay.
Colleen, I want to thank you and CSDA for being here and for putting this program together, because I think it's so important across California to highlight districts that are operating transparently. I wish there were more districts at the platinum level, to be really frank. But I'm really thankful to staff in particular. Like Director Sethy mentioned, I know this is a big undertaking to be able to get this every year, and so just a big hand to staff for being able to keep us at the platinum level. That's amazing, amazing.
I shouldn't understate the guilt trip Paul Sethy put on each of us to get the at the conferences. We got other things to do in life.
It was worth it.
It was worth it, absolutely. I will open it up to members of the public who are online. If you wish to make a comment on this item, you can raise your hand in the Zoom app. If not, I think we can conclude this item, and thank you again, Colleen, for being here today. Wonderful. So we will move on to item number 4, our consent calendar. Do I have any motions on the consent calendar?
I will move to add items 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 to the consent calendar, please.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Weed,
Aye.
Huang,
Aye.
Gunther,
Aye.
Sethy,
Aye.
and Akbari.
Aye.
Quick question. Are you planning on putting us on stage in the fall conference? Okay. Just wondering whether we need to be represented.
Paul will write a poem.
I will make the motion to adopt consent calendar as amended.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Weed,
Aye.
Huang,
Aye.
Gunther,
Aye.
Sethy,
Aye.
and Akbari.
Aye. With that, we'll move on to item 5.4, public hearing on the status of vacancies and recruitment and retention efforts. And I have a script. Perfect. Okay, so on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to welcome the public and your participation in this evening's public hearing. This public hearing will be to review, consider, and potentially act on matters related to Assembly Bill 2561, also known as AB 2561, specifically regarding vacancy reporting requirements for public agencies. Thank you for attending in person, online, and by phone. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to report the status of vacancies and recruitment and retention efforts at the district at least once per fiscal year pursuant to AB 2561. Now I'd like to review the ground rules for the public hearing. Process will be that I'll open up the public hearing and ACWD staff will make a brief presentation. Upon conclusion of this presentation, the board and ACWD staff will receive public comments. The board and staff will receive all comments without responding. Upon conclusion of the public comments, the board will request input from staff, respond to questions and comments that were raised by the public, deliberate on the issues, and then close the public hearing. Following that, we'll move into public comment. Each person will have 5 minutes to comment. We'll require strict compliance with this time limit so that everyone is treated equally. Staff will provide you with 15 seconds advance warning and will let you know when your time is up. Since the hearing is being conducted both in person and online by teleconference, persons who wish to make public comments can indicate so verbally and by raising your hand in the Zoom app when we open up the public comment portion of this hearing. For those participating in person, there are speaker cards in the back of the boardroom. If you haven't already done so, please submit a speaker card to the district secretary. Completing this speaker card is voluntary. If you're participating online or by phone, the district secretary will unmute remote meeting participants who have raised their hand, and when making public comments, please be sure to unmute your own phone line or computer microphone so that you may be heard. For those participating online that may not have a microphone on their computer, please dial in by phone at the number given at the top of the agenda. If you're participating online and we are unable to hear you during the public comment portion of the hearing, please use the chat box feature in the Zoom interface to get the attention of the district secretary, and please state your name and service address when making a verbal comment. Of course, providing this information is voluntary. With that, we'll open the public hearing. So the public hearing is now open. Staff will now make a presentation. I ask everyone to refrain from asking questions or making comments until the public comment portion of the public hearing. And I'll turn it to the general manager.
Great. Thank you, President Akbari. And so as the board recalls, this is a relatively new process, first started last year. We'll start off by providing a review of some information. And to help us do that is Amy Reeve, our Human Resources and Risk Manager. And then we'll continue the item after that. So Ms. Reeve, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson, and good evening, members of the board, district staff, and the public. The hearing this evening is related to AB 2561, and the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing as scheduled and receive comments from the public and district bargaining units on the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. Next slide, please. AB 2561 was effective on January 1st, 2025, and aims to increase transparency and accountability related to job vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts within California's public agencies. As mentioned, this is the second year we are presenting this data. Public agencies are required to report on the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts at least once per fiscal year during a public hearing, with additional requirements if the number of vacancies within a single bargaining unit reaches or exceeds 20% of the total number of authorized full-time positions. Additionally, a presentation must be made prior to the adoption of the final budget, which includes an update on the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. Also, we must identify any necessary policies, procedures, and recruitment activities that may lead to obstacles in the hiring process. No obstacles were identified this year, reflecting the district's consistently low vacancy rate. Consideration and possible adoption of policies or resolutions may be necessary to comply with AB 2561. Next slide, please. The overall staffing situation at the district is positive, with a vacancy rate of 8.23%, which suggests a largely stable full-time workforce. Per AB 2561, the overall vacancy rate within each bargaining group is lower than 20%, so additional reporting requirements do not apply. There is one unused defined term position, which has been eliminated in the budget to be adopted. So next fiscal year, the budget cycle total headcount will be 242 total full-time positions. Next slide, please. The reasons for ACWD vacancies include 6 retirements, 3 separations, 5 internal promotions, 1 termination, and 5 other vacancies. Other vacancies refer to newly created positions that have not yet started in recruitment, and 1 MCP position that remains unfilled pending confirmation of department operational needs. Next slide, please. The Human Resources Department is committed to taking a proactive approach to recruitment by continuously evaluating and refining our strategies to attract top talent. Our current recruitment strategies include posting jobs on multiple platforms like government jobs, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, creating and distributing professional recruitment brochures, and conducting targeted outreach through professional associations and industry-specific networks. Additionally, we've launched and promoted an employer branding campaign and participated in local career fairs and hiring events, and have also utilized executive recruitment firms for executive level or hard-to-fill positions. The graphic on this slide is a recent flyer developed by HR staff to promote the Meter Cross Connection Worker 2 vacancy. Next slide, please. The district is committed to fostering a highly engaged and satisfied workforce, recognizing that employee well-being and fulfillment are key drivers of our exceptional retention rates. Our current recruitment strategies include development and training opportunities, such as through the leadership skills and universal skills training programs, as well as employee engagement efforts, such as the Community Engagement Board and our employee input program called the WAVE. We also continue to offer a competitive compensation and benefits package, as well as work-life balance initiatives, including an alternate work schedule, on-site gym, and wellness initiatives. Our current retention strategies are working, as is evident by having 91.77% of all of our positions filled as of April 1st, 2026. Next slide, please. In summary, the district will continue providing annual public hearings prior to board adoption of the fiscal year budget and include updates on vacancies, recruitment strategies, and retention efforts. We will report when vacancy rates exceed 20% in any bargaining unit and include additional information such as recruitment timelines, root causes of elevated vacancies, and targeted recruitment and retention strategies. Additionally, there will be ongoing review of district policies and procedures to identify and address gaps in the ACWD hiring practices, as well as recommending policy updates as needed to ensure ongoing compliance. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I will turn it back to President Akbari for public comment.
Great.
Thank you.
Ms. Reed. So we will now open the public comment portion of this hearing. Will the district secretary please call up each speaker that has submitted a speaker card?
There have been no speaker cards submitted.
Thank you. Then we will move on to our, will the district secretary please unmute the meeting participants who have raised their hands so that they may make public comments? Seeing no hands raised, is there anyone else in person or online who has not spoken yet and would like to address the board? Seeing no hands, has the district secretary received any written comments?
Not at this time.
You? Then we'll move to the board. Does any director have any questions of staff or legal counsel based on the questions or comments presented by the public?
By the public or comments.
Or presented within the presentation?
In the presentation, thank you. How do we handle vacant positions? Do we budget for them? And are they in our budget as if they're funded?
I will turn that question over to our interim director of finance, Mr. Calvin, please.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors, Director Reed. So we budget 3% of the vacancy, the whole FTE. We budget 3% as a vacancy.
I'm sorry, I didn't pick up what you're.
We budget,
They're showing it as a funded position and we put money in the budget for those vacant positions.
yes, we do. And then let's say we have 242 positions. We assume that 3% of those 242 positions will be vacant. And we say we have a minus underneath. And let's say the budget is $100 million. And let's say the staffing is $70 million. Then 3% of 70 million will be, for $100 million, we assume $2.1 million is saving from the vacancy.
Right. So, in short, we fully budget for the labor costs for each position in the personnel budget. And then at the end, we lop off 3% of that total. So in other words, we assume that we're actually going to spend less than that total budget amount
Okay.
to account for the vacancies.
And we did an average. I know there was a local city which got hit with a $19.5 million penalty from the state of California that they had to pay back. And it turns out they magically found $19.5 million in positions that had been funded but were not filled that year. So that was the hidden reserve. We do not have the hidden reserve.
The district does not have a hidden reserve.
Thank you. Next, if I have support of the board, I'd be interested in saying, even though it's not part of the legal requirements, a statement of the number of interns we've hired and any opening, what our intern hiring positions are and how we're doing on that program.
I would support that as well.
Sure. We have in the board packet, we have our quarterly staffing report, and you can see in there the number of interns and so forth, but we'd be happy to come back and talk to you some more about the program.
Yeah, it just seems just a line item. We show our ranking. It is, the intent is to raise the profile of the internship program so that we all are aware that we would like to recruit and maintain and possibly even grow the intern program. Thank you. That's my position.
Are there any other questions from board members?
I have comments.
I think
When you get to it, I have
we'll take comments in just a second. Would the general manager, staff, or legal counsel like to respond to any questions or comments that are raised by the public or the board?
Well, having heard no comments from the public, staff stands ready to respond to any other comments from the board. I think we've responded to the one.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to deliberation, and I'll look to the board to offer any comments, and we can start with Director Huang.
No comments regarding the presentation. As far as the proposal, I do support it. However, I just want to remind the board that this presentation is geared totally towards the compliance of 2561. Any other staffing reporting, I think we could take it in the parallel process, maybe.
I would follow Director Wong. I mean, this follows exactly what we're supposed to do. However, I do support the concept that Director Weed's presenting, that we should promote the internship program. And I did notice it was further on in another presentation. So, but I highly support that. I don't know if we can fit it into this because this is very specific, but certainly I guess somewhere maybe a parallel thing at the same time.
A quick question. Do our interns receive benefits?
Looks like Ms. Reeve was gearing up and ready to respond. I'll respond and then she can correct me. Our interns do not receive benefits. They receive an hourly rate and that's it.
Further discussion. Thank you.
Director Sethy?
Yes, I have two comments. One is, and I brought this up the last time you made a presentation, not only to the Finance and Administration Committee, but in our last public presentation. I would really like to see what the comparable numbers are from other Bay Area water districts, if we can gather that, since it is a public requirement, to comply with this law, it must be in the board packages of the other Bay Area districts. So it would be really nice to see comparable information if we can obtain that, so we know how we stack up. Just a request. Number two, I find that we have some very special bonding activities where it's not only the employees but the board get to participate in, like our summer picnic, our winter breakfast, and holiday dinner. But one of the events that I really liked recently, and I'm hopeful we could encourage it again, was where we had a barbecue in the back where everybody came together for a couple of hours, and I just thought it was really a very special event because people gathered an hour before. We were there for 2 hours. There were people hanging around for another hour afterward. And for me personally, it was a really wonderful opportunity to get to know some of the people that work for our district firsthand that I really never get to meet on a personal basis. And so I'm hopeful that we will have some more of those kind of bonding efforts right here at the district, just do it in the back. And I think those are really beneficial for the culture of the district. Thank you.
Director Weed, any additional comments? Okay. Well, I actually do agree with Director Weed and the comments from Director Huang as well. I wanted to do more to highlight the internship program. I think that's kind of outside of the scope of AB 2561, but I definitely agree that we want to bolster that program and highlight it where we can as well. And I will second Director Sethy's request to get some comps from similar agencies just to understand what their vacancy rates look like as well and how we compare with them. I think that would be helpful context for us. Hearing no other comments from the board, I will close this public hearing and I will turn it to our general manager to see if there's any closing comments.
Sure. Thank you, President Akbari. Just closing remarks, just to remind the board, no actions are needed as a part of this item. Future years may require some action. This year did not. Just want to thank everybody who participated. We have heard your thoughts and suggestions, and we appreciate that. This is, as a reminder, an annual process, and we plan to conduct this process ahead of the final budget adoption every year in compliance with the current law. Beyond that, that completes my remarks associated with this item.
Great, thank you. I think that concludes item 5.4, is that correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. Great, so then we will move on to item 5.5, resolution adopting proposed benefit enhancements to the revised management confidential professional employees compensation schedule and handbook, also known as the MCP employees. And I'll turn it to our general manager.
Great. Well, we're not going to let Ms. Reeve off that easy. I have called this the Reeve Show, the Amy Show. This is an item we're really happy to bring this to the board. There's been a fair amount of effort behind it, and it's really a win-win-win. And so those are the kinds of things that we really strive for. So, but again, to turn it over to Ms. Reeve to step us through this item.
Thank you again, Mr. Stevenson. So the next item before you is a resolution adopting proposed benefit enhancements to the revised Management Confidential and Professional MCP Employees Compensation Schedule and Handbook. The purpose of the Management Confidential and Professional MCP Employees Compensation Schedule and Handbook, or MCP Handbook, is to establish the approved wage structure and define the terms and conditions of employment for MCP staff. The MCP Handbook was last comprehensively updated in March of 2026. And following the conclusion of informal negotiations in March of 2026, the district implemented agreed upon enhancements to MCP unit benefits. In consultation with its insurance broker, the district subsequently evaluated existing coverage levels and identified opportunities to address underinsurance concerns within the life insurance, long-term disability, and short-term disability programs. The additional enhancements identified would strengthen the overall benefits package for the MCP unit while supporting the district's commitment to maintaining competitive and sustainable compensation practices. This effort aligns with the district's strategic plan goal number 3 to maintain the district's financial stability and promote transparency, and goal 4 to improve workplace health and safety, enhance recruitment, maintain retention, and deepen employee engagement. The recommendation is by motion to adopt a resolution approving the proposed benefit enhancements to the Management, Confidential, and Professional Employees Compensation Schedule and Handbook. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Reeve. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I will look to members of the public, both in person and online. If you wish to make a comment, you may raise your hand or come up to the speaker's podium. Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
I will make the motion to move staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Weed,
Aye.
Huang,
Aye.
Gunther,
Aye.
Sethy,
Aye.
and Akbari.
Aye. Thank you. I think you're still in the hot seat maybe for item 5.6, resolution approving a pension and other post-employment benefits funding policy, also known as OPEB, and I'll move to Mr.
Well,
Stevenson
we
again.
may need to call in Ms. Reeve for reinforcements, but we'll see, because this item is really for Mr. Cho, our interim director of finance. Again, this is not an entirely new concept either. The board, Mr. Cho did prepare a presentation and the board saw it, but it's been a couple of months ago. So we wanted to bring the item back and also formally put this policy in place. So Mr. Cho, would you step us through, please?
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. And again, good afternoon, Board of Directors, staff, and member of the public. Before I go over the staff report and resolution, I wanted to provide a few brief comments regarding the proposed policy. This is a policy level document that establishes the district's commitment to fully fund both pension and OPEB obligation by 2032. It is not intended to address specific funding strategies or allocation decisions within a Section 115 trust. Rather, this policy establishes the framework and long-term funding direction. In the absence of a board-adopted policy, the district has been prudently following the funding approach and amortization schedule provided by our actuaries, which has supported steady progress toward reducing unfunded liabilities. The intent of establishing a formal board-adopted policy is to provide a clear, consistent, long-term framework for funding pension and OPEB obligations. This helps reinforce the district's commitment to fully funding and providing continuity over time, regardless of changes in board membership, while preserving the board's authority to amend the policy as needed. For pension, staff is aligned with the Finance and Admin Committee on utilizing a conservative approach, positioning the Section 115 trust as a financial reservoir to help manage funding volatility and contribution fluctuation over time. And for OPEB, staff is not recommending a separate Section 115 trust at this time, as the current glide path does not warrant it. The district has already established irrevocable OPEB trust through CalPERS CERBT. However, this policy provides the framework should an additional structure become necessary in the future. This policy utilizes a glide path and dynamic funding framework, along with the potential use of Section 115 trust to help manage long-term funding progress, contribution stability, and market volatility over time. Now going to the staff report. The pension and other post-employment benefit funding policy is intended to establish a disciplined, transparent, and sustainable framework for funding the district's long-term pension and retiree health benefit. The policy is designed to support long-term financial stability, reduce unfunded liability, and provide guidance for biannual budgeting and long-term financial planning. The proposed policy was presented to the Finance and Admin Committee on February 17, 2026, and to the Board of Directors on March 12, 2026. And following feedback received from the board, updates were made to align the policy with the board's goal of achieving full funding of both pension and OPEB obligation by 2032. And staff is recommending the board to adopt resolution approving the pension and other post-employment benefit funding policy. This completes the presentation, and I'll turn it over to President Akbari for public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cho. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the board? Seeing none, I'll open it up to members of the public, both in person and online. If you wish to ask a question or make a comment, you may do so now. Seeing none, I'll turn back to the, sorry?
I just want to say we reviewed this in the Finance Committee meeting in great detail. And I think both Director Weed and I are very supportive of the strategy that the Finance Department wants to implement here.
I would just like to thank the members of the Finance Committee for doing what they're doing with this, keeping an eye on it. I don't know if I've ever really publicly thanked you guys, but yeah, thank you for keeping it going. It's about time.
A particular kudos for using the 115 trust, which gives us control of the funds.
So this policy is proposing to set up a Section 115 trust, which you could only use it for that purpose. For example, if you want to use it for pension, then we could only use the Section 115 trust for pension. And currently we have the CRBT for OPEB.
But limited in how we can use it, but we actually have control of the funds. We're not turning it over to a third party to manage it for us.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, actually it's managed by the CalPERS. If it depends on the Section 115 trust, if you are to go with the CalPERS and set up a CEPPT, which is their version of the Section 115 trust for the pension, they're the one managing the fund. But we have the option to choose between two strategies. Strategy one, it gives you 5.4% of rate of return. The second one is 4.9%. And staff is aligned with the Finance and Admin Committee to go with the 4.9%, which is more conservative.
Okay. And we just started that this year?
We did not start it this year. After this policy is adopted, staff will come back and propose to adopt a CPPT for future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this sets the policy framework for this approach.
I will just echo the comments of the board. I think this is really sensible policy, and I think this is a good framework for us to adopt. And I just want to thank staff and the board as well for making the decisions needed to be able to get us to towards that 2032 funding goal. And yeah, this is really good management in practice.
Just a quick comment. The problem with the 2023 funding goal is we keep changing the goal line. And we've extended the average lifespan and lowered the discount rate. So those make it different. The plan we had a few years ago is not the plan we have today. We've changed the goalpost.
Director Reed, I want to make it clear, for the glide path, 2032 glide path, we're not going to change the glide path. The actual might be different, but then glide path will stay the same.
We're getting there, but the basis of the calculations has been modified. Thank you.
I would say the goalpost is in the same spot that it was before, but the grass can be taller or shorter as we run through it to get to the goalpost. Maybe that's one way of framing it. The goalpost is the same, but you're right. The assumptions about the dollars, invested and pre-funded, yes, those will fluctuate with actuarial evaluations and other things.
But the numbers have increased. That's why I say there's a change in the goalpost.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll turn back to the board and see if we have a motion.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Weed,
Aye.
Huang,
Aye.
Gunther,
Aye.
Sethy,
Aye.
and Akbari.
Aye. With that, we move on to item 6, reports, starting with item 6.1, board committee reports. Do I have any questions or comments from members of the board or members of the public on any item under 6.1?
I have some general questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take it.
First of all, do we have a final report on the rainfall for the rain year?
Oh, I think that is 6.2. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I said general. I'm covering everything under 6.
Okay, if you give us a moment to look that up.
I didn't see a rainfall report this month.
The current rainfall total is 18.32 inches.
So right, a little above average.
The
Right
average
at
year is 18.37, so we're a little below.
Okay, good. Second question. Last year, and I'm talking about the calendar year, I noted that we were almost every month running below our forecast on water sales, even during the summer months. What stood out to me in the latest report is kind of peculiar because in March and April, which were not necessarily warm months, we ran in March about 20% above forecast, and in April about 15% or so above forecast. I'm wondering if staff has any explanation for this anomaly and why it happened this spring when we didn't really have very hot weather.
Well, March, I think, did get up there, right? So, but
It wasn't extremely hot. I never had to turn on the air conditioner.
I believe we had some, I don't have the temperatures in front of me, but I do remember we did have a pretty good heat wave where we were in the high 80s. So I think that I do remember warm temps in March, but then we had subsequent rain right after. So that is probably playing a part.
Yeah, I think the hydrology has definitely been kind of squirrely for the last couple of years. Ever since coming out of the drought, it's just been a little squirrely.
Well, every single month last calendar year, we were slightly below our forecast. And so this is the first time I've seen it jump up above forecast. That's why I asked the question. Maybe at a future meeting, the staff can come back and give us some theories as to why this happened. The last thing I wanted to note, just for public record, is the low hardness in the area of Driscoll and Mission Boulevard going south through Warm Springs, extremely low. I know the reason why, because we had our treatment plant number 2 offline. But for anyone that's wondering, that was the reason. And the water has been exceptionally good around my home. So can we turn the plant off more often? That's my question. Those are my comments and observations. Thank you.
So I did look up Fremont weather in March 2026. If you believe the internet and AccuWeather, the week of March 15, we actually hit 97. So that whole entire week is in the 90s, and the following week was halfway in the 90s. Half of the week is in the 90s. So it was hot.
Okay.
I remember watering my plants. That's why I looked it up. So
I also had an irrigation leak that month. So I think I might have contributed a little bit.
So we kind of jumped into 6.2 as well. Are there any other questions or comments from the board or members of the public on anything within 6.2? If not, it looks like 6.3, we have no staff presentations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we can move into 6.4, general managers reports, and I'll turn it to Mr. Stevenson.
Great. Thank you, President Akbari. I do have a few items this evening. First of all, 6.4.0, which is not on the agenda, is staff, Mr. Cho, letting me know that I was wrong about intern compensation. We pay the hourly rate, but they also accrue sick leave. But that's the only benefit. I was thinking in terms of, retirement and healthcare and those sorts of things. They do accrue sick leave over time. Okay, so now moving on to item 6.4.1. Staff just wanted to make sure the full board's aware of some activity surrounding the state water project and permitting and so forth, and some work, some support that this district offered to some legislation that's going on right now. So I'll turn this over to Ms. Walden, who is filling in for Ms. Heides, who is taking some well-deserved time off. So Ms. Walden.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Assembly Bill 2215, or AB 2215, introduced by Assemblymember Calderon, is a bill which, if passes, would extend the timeline for the full development of the state water project's water right permits to 2046. The Department of Water Resources filed for an extension of its permit through the State Water Resources Control Board back in 2009, but the application remains unprocessed, limiting the state water project's ability to modernize operations and respond effectively to climate change. On May 7th, the district signed on with partner Bay Area water agencies and the Bay Area Council to a regional support letter, which is consistent with our positions and past advocacy regarding the state water project's water rights extension. Staff will continue to track AB 2215 and will provide updates to the board as appropriate. So with that brief update, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay,
All right. Well, let me ask a question here. The water rights that are being extended here, is this a periodic thing that has to be done by law, or was this by special request?
Let me take a stab. Okay, so this has to do with basically DWR's rights to move water through and out of the Delta, right? And so those water rights have yet to be perfected, right? And so there's been an application in with the state board for many years to perfect those water rights. There's a whole process associated with perfecting those rights. And because they haven't been perfected yet, and because the sort of time frame for them to perfect those rights has come and gone, the state water rights are a bit in limbo right now. And so what this legislation does is say, well, there's more time available to perfect those water rights. That's important mostly for operation and improvements associated with the state water project. Because
how does this tie in with the Delta Conveyance Project? Next week on Thursday is the meeting of the Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority. The same day is the Delta Conveyance Finance Authority, on which I sit. And I'm wondering if this is being done for dual purposes, for the long-term rights that they have wished to have, and also to clarify the rights that they want to have, the water rights that they want to have for the Delta Conveyance System. This would be very important to know for next week's meetings.
Okay, Ms. Walden's gonna provide a response there.
So there's been an extension in 2009. A similar extension had also been requested. And so this is another level to it. But there is, while it extends the deadline for those water rights, it basically isn't an automatic approval of any of the projects. They still have to go through their own environmental and regulatory approvals for all the other projects.
Yeah, so I would say that's an important distinction. This legislation related to the water rights doesn't explicitly authorize any project associated with Delta Conveyance. In fact, it's explicitly excluded. But I would say that in order to finance and fund large projects through bonds and so forth, one must have confidence that the project is going to have a source of water. And so what this does is extends that availability of that water right out many years so that the work on the state water project can happen and can be funded.
And what is the extension year to?
2046, December specifically.
It's 20 years.
So they could cut off the water rights right when the tunnel's being finished if it goes through.
It strikes me that it may well have an impact on our ability to fund the project if we don't have access to the state water tax and we have to go through a new financing mechanism because you're going to someone asking to build a project and you don't necessarily have the rights to the water that's going to fund the project.
Well, that's going to be the big subject of discussion next week. There's a lot of we have 11 members on our board, and a lot of them don't have the ability to charge their customers directly on their water bill. It goes through the property tax system.
Yeah, but more importantly, this is just a time extension.
Right.
It doesn't give you the right that you need to base your bond financing.
That's what I'm trying to clarify here.
It
I don't
does.
want to say something stupid at next week's meeting.
Gives you 20 years to talk about.
We actually have a lot of information about this, so we'd be happy to pass along all of the facts from the state water contractors.
Okay. Is Laura going to be present for next week's meeting?
She'll be back in the office next week. I'm not sure what her plans are in terms of meetings.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, yes, I have a couple of other general manager reports. First of all, I just wanted to quickly note that this week on Tuesday, we participated in a really large regional emergency response exercise. You may have seen that in the news and seen some other references to it. ACWD, we had about 77 staff participating. We had folks in the field doing various activities associated with responding to various kinds of emergencies and disasters. We had activated our EOC and kind of did a number of sort of tabletop kind of exercises to practice our emergency response approach. It was all fake. It was a mock EOC activation. So in case you've heard anything, there was no disaster. I know Alameda County had put out a sort of RANS type notice on folks' cell phones and things like that. It was just part of a test and we had participated in that. It was a lot of work and a lot of coordination by folks here. And I just want to say thank you for that. Also, we had a spoiler alert earlier on this issue, our annual maintenance project in TP2, bringing down our water treatment plant number 2 for maintenance. And Mr. Stevenson, no relation, thought he would give you a quick update on that.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson, no relation. Good evening, board, fellow staff members and members of the public. Water treatment plant number 2, also known as TP2, was taken out of service for the month of April, as Director Sethy recognized, for its annual maintenance activities. The plant was placed back in service on May 5th and is slowly ramping up. The current rate as of this afternoon is 12 million gallons a day, and the rate will continue to increase as appropriate as the plant sort of stabilizes and comes online. As the board is likely aware, the annual plant shutdown at TP2 allows staff to perform maintenance and repairs so the plant can run reliably the other 11 months out of the year. So in addition to the many routine maintenance activities, some highlighted projects that were also conducted included the replacement of 2 large 48-inch butterfly valves in the applied water channels that allows us to separate the plant. The completion of upgrades to the ozone generator power supply units, which were obsolete. Improvements to the aqua ammonia carriage water system to include new flow meters, monitoring, and alarms. We also completed final connections for 10 electric vehicle charging stations at the plant. Did some installation of lighting improvements for the process deck and the replacement of the tank liner and all nozzles for a sodium hypochlorite tank. And then there was several other smaller projects and upgrades and repairs. Staff carefully plans and coordinates the TP2 shutdown activities all year in order to optimize the downtime and efficiently get in as much work as possible to keep the plant up. In fact, the spreadsheet for next year's shutdown activities is already shaping up. So that concludes my report.
Yeah, and it's not really on the agenda, so we're not going to really discuss much, but I believe our plan is to come back to committee and kind of share some of the details of the outage and the things that happened. I just want to say I'm very happy to have my TP2 water back at my house. Finally, quickly, a couple of save the dates. You might already have these. The City of Newark Big Truck Day. This is where ACWD is going to have some of our field crews, some of our large equipment out there. Last year, it was incredibly popular. The place was swarming with little kids, just in awe over these large utility vehicles and emergency response vehicles and so forth. That's Wednesday, June 10. It's during the morning, 10 a.m. to 11:30 at the Newark Pavilion. Let's see. And then, of course, as you know, the City of Fremont's 4th of July parade is back. ACWD will be participating. That's on go figure July 4. The route will be pretty much the same. The setup will be pretty much the same, and we'll be sending you some additional information as that event nears. And hopefully you can get your sneakers ready and participate in that parade. And then finally, as you know, we had our historical mural unveiling and tree planting. Well, the mural has now found its permanent home here in our customer lobby. So feel free to go take a look at that. Our history painted in water, proudly displayed out there in the lobby. That does it for my general manager's reports.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. With that, we move on to item 7, director's comments, reports on meetings attended, and agenda item requests. And I'll just start in order. Nothing
for
from
me.
Director Huang. Director Gunther.
Okay, I went up to the conference Tuesday evening. So Wednesday morning, I noticed the keynote welcome was Assemblymember Pappen, Diane Pappen. She's right across the bay from us, and I think can be a really good ally to us. Her father certainly was, and she spoke well. Obviously, politician, but she spoke well, and she does cover San Mateo, which Bosca and a lot of our same needs. Like I said, could be a very good ally, I think, to us, and she's also on, I can't remember what the committees were, but there's several committees which we would certainly be interested in. After that, I went, as a lot of times I will, the groundwater banking 101. We do it. We've been doing it for a long time. And I just figured, okay, I'm going to go see what it's all about, see what they got to say. And actually came away impressed. Really, I think this is one of the first times I've noticed that when they were talking about groundwater banking, they were talking about Sigma at the same time. They're finally marrying the two. And they're also talking about conveyance. They're starting to really not just talk about the silo effect of each program. Because to make this thing work, you really need all three pieces. And so I was really impressed with that. And let's see, it caused, so I was chatting in the exhibits. I ended up chatting with the guys in the DWR booth and about their water plan 2028 and what had happened in the groundwater banking meeting. And the guy, and how I really expressed appreciation that they finally have brought that together. And the guy hands me a flyer and says, you should come to this, which was an unannounced session. It was the California Water Plan 2028. It was a We're Listening session put on by DWR. Ed was there with me, same meeting. I found it to be very fruitful. There were small groups. We got to chat about water, what this thing is. I really, before this, didn't know a lot about it. And, we'll see. There's always these grand ideas. We'll see. Good news, though, is, at least I think it's good news, the new executive director. for Aqua. Good news, Carla Namath. Bad news, Carla Namath. Why do I say bad news? Because she's not going to be where she is now. So hopefully they'll come up with a good replacement. But I think that's going to really help Aqua having her in that position. She's dynamic. One, I think she supports our projects in general. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think she sees that need to bring everybody together as well. She's always tried to do that. So I think that was a real win. Then let's see, Thursday. The water, the delivering 9 million acre feet, same thing with the water plan. So I ended up concentrating on that and did stay all the way through the afternoon. And I think it was the water management program about, trying to
we were all.
we were all getting up all on the same one, I think, on that one. So, and there was no Brown Act violations. We were good. So
We were being monitored.
yeah, we were good.
Good job.
So
Not in your job description. That's great.
I'd like to comment on the governor's speech. I was happy to see the governor there. It's an election cycle. Well, he's not, but he is running for president. We all know that. I found his speech to be particularly Governor Newsom. However, he didn't really go on an attack, which it was an interesting speech because he really kind of opened himself up for some attacks there. Still, full support of the tunnel project, conveyance, this plan, supporting water. He took a couple shots at Trump, and one of them was very appropriate, in my opinion. That was the opening of the water tap. Whether you're conservative or not, I mean, some people may agree with that, but that was not exactly a good decision as far as water. He did comment that some people in the room weren't going to like some of the things he had to say. I think he understood his audience. But in general, I found his talk to be pretty decent. I hate saying that, but I seem to find his talk pretty decent. He's been very supportive of the tunnel. I kind of hate to see him leave because I don't know if we're going to get the same support in the next administration. We'll see. And there was some talk about that as to, the candidates, where are these people standing? Are we going to see more as the focus brings in? And hopefully we will. Because, I mean, the governor's position for us has been very solid. And I hate to lose that. And that's a fear I have. But I found his speech very good, and Secretary Crowfoot's always good. So that's what my takeaways were.
Yeah, let me offer three overviews of the conference before I go into the meetings that I attended. One, I think it is a superlative choice to have Carla Namath as the new executive director. And I was telling people at the conference, I think that this is going to give Aqua a whole new level of capability in the state government because she knows where everybody is, who are all the important people. She gets along with both levels of the legislature. She understands how budget authorizations are done and budget funding. And she's in favor of the Delta Tunnel. She's a magnificent educator and speaker. And she's turned out to be a really good executive in the position that she's held in state government. So I'm really looking forward to her association with Aqua. I don't think we've ever had an executive director that had that in-depth connection into the state government. And if we want to get things done, we need those connections. Number two, let me highlight the Claire Hill Award. Just for the staff here. I thought that was an exceptional recognition of a district that was doing something on the smart edge of the universe here in the water industry by setting up this field for recharging large energy efficient vehicles and making it open to every government agency in their area. So they spent a conservative amount of money. Most of it was covered by grants. And then they're making money off of what they're doing by hosting all these government agencies. And I'm saying to myself, geez, we as a district we've got 660 acres of land in the district. There should be some place where we could try to do something that emulates what that water district did and work with our three cities, USD, all the other government agencies in the area. And I was thinking, how about right across the street at the schoolyard? They've got plenty of space there next to the firehouse. And we could have a local station, that is emulating exactly what they're doing. And it is the future. If we look out 25 years, it's starting now. We're going to have to go to these large vehicle EV vehicles and to see how quickly it took off with their district. That was really impressive. And it's a moneymaker for the district. So let's look into it, please. I encourage everyone here. Third, I concur with the Thursday speech of Governor Newsom. And it made the statewide news that he was talking to the water industry. One thing I've learned over the years from watching Governor Newsom back to when he was mayor of San Francisco and on the Board of Supervisors is that he spoke for half an hour, remarkably without notes. And a lot of people find that hard to believe that he can give such a well-structured speech, step by step, in detail, knowing every fact, figure, number right on the dot. And he doesn't round things off. He gives you the exact number. And they wonder, how is he capable of doing that? Well, Secretary Crowfoot was noting afterward to some of us that he can speak on at least a dozen state policy topics in detail for half an hour and give similar speeches. He grew up with dyslexia, so he has a very difficult time reading a teleprompter or words that are written down. So he, in fact, memorizes everything that he speaks about. And he speaks with passion, with understanding. It is incredible to watch him speak. Governor Brown was similar in the way that he memorized his speeches. And it's not often in the public arena that you see people perform like that. So he was very impressive. I was thrilled that he, as an outgoing governor, he spoke up again in support of the Delta Tunnel and a conveyance system. So we've had successive governors from Schwarzenegger to Brown to Newsom. And I get the feeling that well, I don't want to make any predictions here, but hopefully things will turn out for the equally as good in the future here in the governor's office. As far as committee meetings, I went up on Monday for some side conversations in the afternoon with people that I wanted to connect with. On Tuesday, I went to the Water Management Committee and I'm not a formal member, but I sat in. Attended the Local Government Committee where I am a participating appointed member. And we are doing everything that we can to back the new Aqua strategic plan. And we have set up 4 subcommittees. I'm going to serve on the one that is going to come up with tangible recommendations on to make water more affordable. And we're going to come up with our recommendations by the next Aqua meeting. And so these are not where we have to go to the legislature, try to change the rules, try to change Prop 218. These are practical measures that every water district might want to entertain, and that's what we're focused on. So I'm on that subgroup. I went to the afternoon session on solar development, the bigger picture, what every water agency needs to know. That was a most fascinating presentation because it was at an extremely high level, looking at all of the state's energy needs over the next 25 to 50 years and how we are going to meet our energy requirements, not only with hydro, but with solar, wind, and other non-renewables. And it became quite clear, and I'm going to offer some background here. I'm of the age where when I was in high school here at Mission San Jose High School, there was a definite change in the feeling of most Californians about nuclear power with Chernobyl that happened close to that time period in 3 Mile Island, and people becoming concerned about our nuclear power plants here in California. I've always been in favor of nuclear power. I, in fact, paid 1 year of my education by investing in one nuclear power stock, Quadrix, right here in Santa Clara. Made quite a bit of money while I was in college, paid for 1 year. They were designing nuclear power plants. So this presentation was showing that if we did all of the build out that could be done on solar, primarily along Highway 5 in California through farmland, what the dependencies are on water and how connected it is to Sigma and gaining water rights just to put in solar projects. And that you have to have these renewable for perhaps centuries, because you are every 40 years, you're going to have to, 20 to 40 years, you're going to have to replace what's there in the field. And if you look at all the wind contributions that could be made over the next 25 years, all the solar contributions, we are severely lacking in the energy to meet our future needs through the end of the century. And the only solution is nuclear power, either large or miniature nuclear power plants. There is no other choice. And so I think that it's going to become incumbent upon us in the water industry, the energy industry, that we have to educate our public on, and you can see people like Bill Gates really at the forefront of trying to do this. There is no other way to provide the energy for all these data centers that are going in unless we go nuclear. So that was an absolutely fascinating presentation, and the connection between water and solar I never quite understood until this presentation. It was excellent. I attended with our general counsel the attorney and finance meeting. This was the first time I attended 2 attorney meetings. But since we are going to be talking about rates and rate structures this summer, I thought I would attend this one on Proposition 218 today, legal landscape, rate resilience, and legislative updates, and the update on all the recent court cases over the last few years, especially the last 2, was really interesting. I asked Mr. Miyake if he could give us, when we go into those sessions, workshops to give us a little bit of an overview. I next attended another really interesting presentation on Wednesday afternoon, Demystifying the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Strategies for Expanding Your Federal Partnerships. This presentation was done by Mark, I forget his last name now. He is the general manager for your AlamedaCountyWater District. He's a two-star general, served 35 years in the Army Corps of Engineers, and is now living out the last years of his career as general manager of a water district. Mark Toy, two-star general. Incredibly impressive. I mean, I only knew him for an hour or so, and I just said to myself, I wish I had a chance to work for this guy. He exuded leadership. He had command of the room. He didn't speak from the dais or anything. He walked the room. It was the power of the talk that made it so worthwhile to see somebody who captures people's attention and grabs you in. It was marvelous. And so I did learn a lot there. And of course, I have my friend who works across the street at the Army Corps of Engineers, and she knows him personally too. So I talked to her about that. I attended the Region 5 meeting. I gave the report on the local government committee. On the last day, I attended the other attorneys meeting, which was on my AI assistant, the use of artificial intelligence, possibilities and ethical pitfalls in attorney practices, but it could be applicable to any organization, any type of organization. And I actually learned a lot out of that session. Mr. Miyake was there as well. And all the fascinating ways that AI is being used and disabused in the legal profession, but also in the general business world. And I took quite a few pictures of the slides because I found it personally helpful myself, since I use ChatGPT and other AI assistants. Lastly, I attended the Water Management Committee, the water affordability squeeze and an era of increasing costs. The three of us were there, and
Poor Jackie.
yeah, poor Jackie, mediating to make sure that we didn't break any Brown Act laws.
We behaved.
You know, since I'm sitting now on this new subcommittee for the local government committee on water affordability, this is showing what all the stress points are in our industry. And we heard from a professor, from insiders in the industry, John, Director Weed, Director Gunther, myself, and you realize all of the different inflation factors affecting the water industry, all the changing things that are affecting costs, our baseline costs as an industry. And yet we have to find ways to make water more affordable for people in our communities. So it's a tough task. I am really excited to be working on this one special focus group. And you know where Director Weed and I come from. Got to get a large portion of this on the property tax bill. And so my effort the last 2 or 4 years to get us to produce an aqua bulletin about how you can do this was really important. Now we're going to go the next step. So pardon me for taking quite a bit of time here, but as I told our general manager, I thought it was one of the best conferences I had ever attended for aqua. Really, really good. Learned a lot.
Okay, thank you. See if I can match. Monday, I was a candidate for the captive insurance authority of JPIA. There are two incumbents who were reelected. My wife is delighted that I don't have a 10th Form 700 to fill out. And Paul Sethy pointed out a great adage that in Sacramento, it's irrelevant whether you win or lose. It's important to be in the game, and that's what counts. Next,
I could write another poem about it.
yes. The governor is vocal support of Delta conveyance. However, this last winter, he bowed to pressure and removed from the trailer bill language that would have allowed the simplification of the process of Delta conveyance. So we didn't progress. We didn't progress as quickly as we'd hoped. There was a data centers. We have 5 that are existing or proposed for the city of Fremont, total of 5. Steve Jordan forwarded me a webinar for next week on utilities for data centers. I encourage us to look at it and have our staff to get smart on it. Huge energy consumption. Water is less identified, but there may be opportunities to see if we can work out an arrangement where we can provide them reclamation water from our groundwater basin in return for some nice cost on energy. So hopefully we can evaluate that. OSCA, we have an existential threat to the San Francisco PUC and the HHE system due to conservation. There is a adage and tenet of Western water law that if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Environmentalists presented a presentation, a booklet last month that on the cherry solution, pointing out that the amount of water consumption had dropped so much on the HHE system that we could meet the needs at a cherry reservoir rather than O'Shaughnessy. Now, the water quality is terrible. They have an agreement now between San Francisco and TID that San Francisco's water rights go to TID because it's good for irrigation. TID gets gives San Francisco their rights on the Tuolumne for HHE, and we get the more high quality water. But our water consumption continues to drop, and the cost of that water, and the second effect is that the cost of the water continues to increase dramatically. I went on the Bosco board in 2004, $1 a unit, $440 per acre foot. Today it's $6 a unit, which is $2,600 an acre foot. And San Francisco is projecting 7.5% per year for each of the next 9 years. So in 10 years, in 9 years, it'll double again to about $6,000 an acre foot. The San Francisco Bay is a alternative at a much lower cost at $6,000 an acre foot. So there are some major issues. Comment was made by a confession by DWR senior engineer that with Sigma, they're only experiencing about 5% of the recharge of the groundwater basin that they had projected. Recharge is not there. So we need to look into that. Again, another major change. I have proposed and suggested that we create framework and position of a JPA in the South Bay Aqueduct contractors. Doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to have anything in the books, but we at least have the structure there when there are issues relating to the South Bay Aqueduct. Will come in the pricing and billing of the South Bay Aqueduct is near the end of its service life.
Director, sorry to interrupt, but are you giving a report on the Aqua conference right now?
I made these comments at the Aqua conference, but
okay. So the agenda item is to be giving a report on the attendance of the conference. We just need to be careful about not talking about things that are on the agenda pertaining to the district. So if you could just reflect
Oh,
on.
it's also, this aqua conference, there's also a session for board comments. Is that also included in this item?
Pardon me?
The board comments section.
Yeah, but that, we're not there for comments right
They were combined, aren't they?
Okay. But right now, I believe we are on the aqua conference, so
Okay.
maybe you should
Stay with
stick
the
with the
aqua
aqua
conference,
conference.
come back.
And that way
Some
we can at
general
least
comment, yeah.
identify what you're talking about with regard to the aqua conference and what are board comments. But regardless, we do need to limit the comments to items that are not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. Right. Thank you. So that is my comments related to the aqua conference. Let's then go, we'll wait, we'll get into the next round for board comments.
If you want to make your board comments and finish up, and then
All
I'll
right,
move.
I will make then my board comments. I think we need a structure where the South Bay Aqua contractors can work quickly and when an issue comes up. There is currently a request. I sent the email from the Army Corps of Engineers asking for items that can be studied by the Corps of Engineers. Reoperation of Del Valle Reservoir strikes me as being something that would impact all of us. The ability to use the chain of lakes to take the overflows from Del Valle during flood situations. We've got Faro. We've got the, I believe, water detention facilities in the watershed. Relocation of East Bay Regional Park District facilities could, for a fraction of the cost of new construction, generate water that was in a reservoir and expand the 15,000 acre feet we're currently enjoying and sharing with Zone 7, go much higher, multiple of that, in a facility that's built, paid, and plumbed. On energy, the word natural gas has not come up. There's going to be an increasing amount of natural gas as the Water Resources Control Board, the Air Quality Control Board, starts to ban gas-fired hot water heaters, forcing people to electric heaters on just in time at a cost of about $25 per home.
$2,500.
$2,500 per home. But the point is, the natural gas is there. It's 24/7. It's resilient to seismic threats, et cetera. And we should be looking at trying to back up our facilities, I believe, with the natural gas capability. So those are the key items and that came to mind, and hopefully as we work through, we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Weed. So I'm gonna just do my report on the Aqua Conference, and I'll keep it just a little bit more high level. I'm gonna touch on two specific sessions that I went to. First, I'm gonna touch on the one of the spotlight sessions around cybersecurity in the water industry, and they focus primarily on moving away from perimeter defense to continuous breach defense. And I think this is a paradigm shift within security where you're not just protecting kind of the outer layers of your infrastructure, but you're operating from the perspective that you have continuously been breached. I think that is the right mode for us to operate within. They touched on a lot of things that we're already doing. They touched on doing tabletop exercises, which we have coming up later this year, and about kind of gaming out real life exercises like SCADA being taken over. One of the things that they suggested was potentially creating a cybersecurity JPA, which I thought was an interesting idea, and I don't believe that's been done before. But they were talking about kind of sharing risk across agencies, particularly for smaller agencies that might not be able to respond or be able to withstand a significant breach. one of the key points that they made was that accountability is always shared. And I think that's something that I wanted to highlight as well. It's not just an IT issue, but when you're breached, that's something that the entire district has to respond to, and the entire district has to take responsibility for and accountability for. And I thought that was a very poignant point for them to touch on. The other session that I'll report on, it was the Vision for a Water Future session. And the panelists there were from the Nature Conservancy, from Met, and from the Cal Chamber. The word of the day there was really affordability. Everyone just kept coming back to affordability, but they touched on a lot of other topics like climate change, regulatory compliance, aging infrastructure. I thought it was really interesting that the Nature Conservancy was pushing that we need to build stuff and move out of the regulatory space faster, which sometimes they're not always the ones that are helpful in that. But I'll keep my comment just at that. But I think there was a shared recognition that we're not building projects fast enough for us to keep up with things like population growth and with aging infrastructure. And I think that's going to require partnerships from a wide variety of agencies and organizations to get that done. They also touched on needing predictable funding, and especially when we no longer have reliability from federal funding sources, we really do have to look to the state and to other funding sources within California to be able to fully fund these programs, and probably wean ourselves off a little bit from DC, which again, just given the state of things, I think is a very accurate point for us to take into consideration. I'm going to keep my comments there. I went to other sessions with Director Gunther as well, and so but I think they've kind of been touched on. Any other any other director's comments? Great. So that concludes item 7. With that, we move on to item 8.1, closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation. The title is General Manager. At 7:43 p.m., we'll move into closed session. Great. It is 9:12 p.m. The board is reconvening into open session. We just concluded item 8.1, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, title General Manager. No action was taken. With that, we move on to item 9.1, appoint agency designated representatives for labor negotiations between the district and the general manager, an unrepresented employee, for a possible amendment to the general manager's employment agreement. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to appoint our board president and vice president to be our negotiators for the board.
Go for it.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Weed,
Aye.
Huang,
Aye.
Gunther,
Aye.
Sethy,
Aye.
and Akbari.
Aye. With that, we'll move back into closed session. Item 10.1, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators. Agency designated representatives are Aziz Akbari and John Weed, and unrepresented employees, the general manager, Ed Stevenson. Great. It is 10:09 p.m. The board is reconvening into open session. We just concluded, item 10.1, pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators. Agency designated representatives were Aziz Akbari and John Weed, and the unrepresented employee was the general manager, Ed Stevenson. Direction was given to the labor negotiators. That concludes item 10.1. And at 10:10 p.m., we will adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you.